Olivia Peters walked out of the nightclub with nothing but a soaked waitress uniform and a canvas bag that smelled like cigarettes and spilled vodka. She had been thrown out 20 minutes earlier. No warning, no severance, just a shove into the rain and a door slammed shut behind her. She didn't know the man watching from the black SUV idling at the corner owned the building she'd just been evicted from. And when he rolled down his window and asked one simple question, what happened? The man who fired her would wake up the next morning to find his entire operation erased. If this story pulled you in, go ahead and subscribe so you never miss what's ahead. I've got another unforgettable story coming tomorrow, and while you're here, drop a comment and tell me where you're watching from. I love seeing people tuned in from all over the world. Okay, let's get back into it. The rain felt like punishment that night, heavy and cold, soaking through her black work shirt until it clung to her skin. Olivia walked without direction, one arm wrapped around herself, the other gripping the strap of her olive green canvas bag like it was the only thing keeping her tethered to the world. The slum road stretched ahead, streetlights flickering weakly through the downpour, casting yellow pools on cracked pavement. She was crying openly now, no longer caring who saw. Her dark hair hung in wet strands across her face. Her beige apron, the one they'd made her wear every shift, was still tied around her waist, damp and wrinkled. Black pants, cheap sneakers that squelched with every step. She looked exactly like what she was, a woman with nowhere left to go. 8 months. That's how long she'd worked at the Eclipse Lounge. 8 months of serving drinks to men who stared too long, who slid bills across the bar with suggestions attached, who thought a smile meant permission. 8 months of keeping her head down, doing her job, refusing everything else. It hadn't been enough. The job came with a room upstairs, barely bigger than a closet, but it was hers. A mattress on the floor, a lamp, a lock on the door. That lock mattered. It meant she was a waitress, not merchandise. It meant she could say no and still have a place to sleep. Until tonight, she'd said no one too many times. The man who ran the club, tall, sharp-suited, always smiling like he knew something you didn't had, started bringing in new girls 3 weeks ago. Dancers, he called them. But Olivia knew better. She'd seen the back rooms, heard the negotiations, watched money change hands for more than just drinks. He'd approached her last week. "You've got a good look," he'd said, leaning against the bar while she wiped down glasses. "Customers ask about you. You could make real money." She'd declined politely. He'd persisted. She'd declined again. Tonight, he'd stopped asking. "Pack your shit," he'd said, appearing in her doorway without knocking. "You're done." "What? Why?" "You don't want to work, you don't stay." "I do work. Not the way I need you to." She'd tried to argue, tried to explain she'd never agreed to anything beyond waitressing. But he'd already turned away, already called 2 of the security guards to escort her out. They'd given her 5 minutes to grab her things. Then they'd walked her down the back stairs, through the kitchen, and out into the alley where the rain had just started to fall, the door locked behind her. No severance, no apology, no second chance. Just rain. She walked because there was nothing else to do. No family to call, no friends close enough to show up at midnight. The little money she'd saved was in her bag, maybe enough for a week in a hostel if she was lucky. Maybe not. The streetlights overhead buzzed and flickered, some dead entirely, leaving long stretches of road swallowed by darkness. Cars passed occasionally, headlights cutting through the rain, but none of them slowed. This wasn't the kind of neighborhood where people stopped to help. Olivia didn't blame them. She kept walking, one foot in front of the other, rain streaming down her face, mixing with tears she'd stopped trying to hold back. Her throat ached, her chest felt tight. She'd worked so hard to keep her dignity, to draw a line and hold it, and it had cost her everything. That's when she heard it, the low hum of an engine slowing behind her. She didn't turn around. Women like her learned not to. But the sound didn't fade. It grew closer, louder, deliberate. The black luxury SUV pulled alongside her, sleek and massive, water beating on its polished surface like liquid glass. It was the kind of vehicle that didn't belong in a place like this, too expensive, too clean, too powerful. The windows were tinted so dark she couldn't see inside. It matched her pace. Olivia's pulse quickened. She walked faster. The SUV stayed with her. She stopped. It stopped. For a long moment, nothing happened. Just the rain hammering the pavement and the quiet idle of the engine. Olivia stood frozen, soaked to the bone, bag clutched against her chest, heart pounding so hard she could feel it in her throat. Then the back window lowered. Slowly, deliberately. Inside sat a man in a tailored black suit, the kind of suit that cost more than she'd made in a year. His shirt was crisp white, unbuttoned at the collar, no tie. His face was angular, hardened, with dark eyes that didn't blink, didn't soften, didn't look away. He had the kind of presence that filled a room even when he was sitting still. Dangerous, controlled, unmistakably powerful. He didn't smile. He didn't lean forward. He just stared at her like he was deciding whether she was worth the trouble. Then he spoke. What happened? His voice was low, quiet, but it cut through the rain like a blade. Olivia's breath caught. She should have kept walking, should have ignored him, should have done what every survival instinct screamed at her to do, but she didn't. Maybe it was exhaustion. Maybe it was desperation. Maybe it was the way he asked, not demanding, not pitying, just asking, like he actually wanted to know. She turned to face him fully, rain pouring down her face, and for the first time that night, someone was looking at her like she mattered. Her voice cracked. She swallowed hard, tried again. I lost my job. The man's expression didn't change. He studied her for another long moment, gaze moving from her soaked uniform to the bag in her hands, to the tears she couldn't hide. Get in, he said. Olivia froze. It was late. The kind of night that taught people not to trust strangers in expensive cars. But she was already soaked, already broken, already out of options. And something in his eyes told her that saying no to this man might be the last mistake she ever made. Olivia didn't get in the car. Not right away. She stood there in the rain, water streaming down her face, staring at the open door of the SUV like it was a trap waiting to spring. The interior was black leather, immaculate, dry. Warm air drifted out, carrying the scent of expensive cologne and something else, power maybe. Control. The man waited. He didn't repeat himself. Didn't coax or persuade. Just sat there with that unreadable expression, one arm resting casually on his knee, watching her make a decision. Olivia started, then stopped. I don't know you. No, he agreed. You don't. Why would you help me? His jaw tightened slightly. I haven't decided if I am. The honesty of it startled her. Most men lied. Promised safety, promised kindness, promised things they had no intention of delivering. This man offered nothing except a dry seat and a question. Olivia looked down the empty road. Rain, darkness, nowhere to go. She got in. The door closed behind her with a solid final thunk. The sound of the rain immediately muffled, reduced to a distant drumming against the roof. The warmth hit her all at once, and she realized she was shivering. The man didn't look at her. He tapped twice on the partition, separating them from the driver. The SUV pulled smoothly back onto the road. Where are we going? Olivia asked, voice barely above a whisper. You tell me. She didn't have an answer. He turned to face her then, really face her, and she saw him clearly for the first time. Dark hair, slightly damp at the edges like he'd been out in the rain recently. Strong features, a scar cutting thin and white across his left eyebrow. Maybe 40, maybe older, it was hard to tell. Men like him didn't age the same way. They hardened. You worked at the Eclipse Lounge, he said. Not a question, a statement. Olivia's heart stopped. How did you? The apron. He nodded toward her waist. And I know the uniform. She looked down. The beige apron was still tied around her, the Eclipse logo stitched in faded black thread across the front. She'd forgotten she was still wearing it. I'm taking it off, she said quickly, fingers fumbling with the knot. Leave it. She froze. I want to see it when we get there, he added. Get where? But he'd already turned away, pulling out his phone, fingers moving across the screen with swift, practiced efficiency. He made a call, spoke in rapid Portuguese, too low for her to catch most of it. She heard one word clearly. Eclipse. Olivia's stomach dropped. You're taking me back there. It wasn't a question. It was dread. He ended the call, looked at her. You don't want to go back? No. She swallowed hard. They fired me, threw me out. I'm not welcome there. Who fired you? The manager. I don't know his real name. Everyone just calls him Senhor. Something flickered across the man's face. Not surprise. Something colder. Why did he fire you? Olivia hesitated. This was the part that made her sound naive, stupid, like she didn't understand how the world worked. Because I wouldn't. She trailed off, staring at her hands. He wanted me to do more than serve drinks. Silence. And you refused? The man said quietly. Yes. For how long? 3 weeks. Maybe more. He started asking after he brought in the new girls. The man leaned back against the seat, eyes narrowing slightly. What new girls? Dancers, Olivia said, then corrected herself. That's what he called them, but they weren't just dancing. What were they doing? She didn't want to say it, didn't want to be the one to spell it out. But his gaze was steady, patient, waiting. Entertaining clients, she said carefully. In the private rooms, upstairs, the same floor where you lived, Olivia nodded. The man's expression didn't change, but something in the air shifted, a tension that hadn't been there before. He pulled his phone out again, typed something, then put it away. You lived above the club, he said. They gave me a room when I started. It was part of the deal. I work the bar, I get a place to sleep. And when you wouldn't upgrade, he said, voice flat, they took the room. Yes. Tonight. Yes. He was quiet for a long moment, staring out the window at the rain-soaked streets sliding past. Olivia couldn't read his face, couldn't tell if he believed her, if he cared, if any of this mattered to him at all. Finally, he spoke. How long have you worked there? 8 months. Did you know what kind of place it was when you started? I knew it was a nightclub. I knew it wasn't. She paused, searching for the right words. I knew it wasn't safe, but I needed work, and they promised me I'd just be serving drinks. That's all I agreed to. And you kept that agreement. I tried. You succeeded, he corrected. That's why you're in this car. Olivia looked at him, confused. I don't understand. He didn't answer right away, just studied her with those dark, unreadable eyes. Then he leaned forward slightly, elbows on his knees, hands clasped. The Eclipse Lounge, he said slowly, is not just a nightclub. I know. No, you don't. His voice dropped lower. It's a front. Money moves through there. Girls move through there. Things that shouldn't happen, happen. And someone is supposed to be making sure they don't. Olivia's throat went dry. Who? The man smiled, but there was no warmth in it. Me. The word hung in the air like a blade. Olivia's hands tightened around her bag. She didn't know who this man was, but she suddenly understood why the SUV was so expensive, why his suit fit like that, why people probably crossed the street when they saw him coming. You own the Eclipse, she whispered. I own a lot of things. He sat back. The Eclipse is one of them. And if what you're telling me is true, then someone has been running my business like it's theirs. It's true, Olivia said quickly. I swear I'm not lying. I know you're not. How? He gestured toward her. Because you're still wearing the apron. Because you're soaked and crying and you have nowhere to go. Because women who lie don't usually end up walking alone in the rain. The SUV slowed. Olivia looked out the window and felt her stomach lurch. They were back. The Eclipse Lounge rose in front of them, neon lights reflecting pink and blue across wet pavement. Music thumped faintly through the walls. People clustered near the entrance, smoking, laughing, oblivious. I can't go in there, Olivia said, panic rising in her chest. Please, he'll do nothing. The man opened his door. Stay close to me. Don't speak unless I tell you to. Why are we here? He looked at her one last time before stepping out into the rain. Because I want to meet the man who thinks he runs my club. Olivia didn't move. The man stood outside the SUV, rain already darkening the shoulders of his expensive suit, waiting. The door hung open. Music from the club pulsed through the night air, bass heavy, relentless, the kind of sound designed to drown out conversations people didn't want heard. I can't, she said again, quieter this time. He leaned down, one hand on the doorframe. You can, and you will. He'll recognize me. He won't do anything. The certainty in his voice was absolute. Not while you're with me. Olivia's hands trembled around her bag. Every instinct screamed at her to stay in the car, to ask the driver to take her anywhere else, to disappear into the rain and never look back. But she'd already made her choice when she got in, already trusted this stranger with the hard eyes and the quiet threats. She stepped out into the rain. The man closed the door behind her and started walking toward the club entrance. Olivia hurried to keep up, her soaked sneakers splashing through puddles, apron still tied around her waist like evidence. She felt exposed, humiliated. Like every person smoking outside would recognize her as the girl who'd been thrown out an hour ago. But no one looked at her. They looked at him. The conversations near the entrance died mid-sentence. Cigarettes paused halfway to mouths. A woman in a tight red dress actually took a step back. The two security guards at the door, both large, both tattooed, both usually unmovable, straightened immediately. "Senhor Reis," one of them said, voice tight. The man Reis didn't acknowledge them, just walked past like they were furniture. Olivia followed, head down, heart hammering. The guards didn't stop her, didn't even look at her. Their eyes stayed locked on Reis until he disappeared through the entrance. Inside, the music was a living thing. It pressed against Olivia's chest, vibrated through her bones, made thinking difficult. The club was packed, bodies moving on the dance floor, strobe lights cutting through artificial fog, bartenders working double time behind the long marble counter where she'd spent 8 months of her life, the same counter where she'd been told she wasn't doing enough. Reis moved through the crowd like a shark through water. People parted without realizing they were doing it, some instinct telling them to get out of his way. Olivia stayed close, her wet uniform clinging uncomfortably to her skin, her bag clutched against her chest. She saw familiar faces, girls she'd worked with, customers she'd served. No one met her eyes. Either they didn't recognize her, or they were pretending not to. Then she saw him, Senhor. He stood near the VIP section, laughing at something a woman in a gold dress had just said. Tall, handsome in a practiced way, wearing a black suit that fit too well to be off the rack. His dark hair was slicked back, his smile easy and confident. A man who believed the world bent to his will because it always had. He hadn't noticed them yet. Reis stopped at the edge of the dance floor, hands in his pockets, surveying the club with the expression of someone inspecting property they'd forgotten they owned. His jaw was tight. His eyes moved methodically from the bar to the VIP section to the back hallway, where the private rooms waited. "Which one?" he asked without looking at Olivia. She didn't need to ask what he meant. Her throat felt like sandpaper. "The one in the black suit, by the couches." Reis nodded slowly. "Stay behind me." He started walking again. Olivia's pulse spiked. This was happening. This was actually happening. She wanted to grab his arm, to tell him she'd changed her mind, that they could just leave, that confronting Senhor wouldn't fix anything. But her feet kept moving, following him through the crowd, toward the man who'd thrown her into the rain like garbage. Senhor saw them when they were 10 feet away. His smile didn't falter. If anything, it widened. He excused himself from the woman in gold and stepped forward, arms slightly spread in a welcoming gesture. "Can I help you?" he asked, voice smooth and practiced. He still didn't recognize Olivia. His eyes were locked on Reis, trying to place him. Reis stopped directly in front of him. "You run this club?" "I manage it, yes." Senhor's smile turned professional. "Are you looking for a table?" "VIP section is full tonight, but I'm not looking for a table." Something in Reis's tone made Senhor pause. His smile held, but his eyes sharpened. "Then what can I do for you? You can tell me who gave you permission to fire my staff." The smile cracked. Senhor's gaze flicked briefly to Olivia, then back to Reis. Recognition dawned slowly, followed immediately by confusion. "I'm sorry. Who are you?" "Camilo Reis." The name hit like a physical blow. Senhor's face went white. The confidence drained out of him so fast Olivia almost felt sorry for him. Almost. His mouth opened, closed, opened again. "Senhor Reis, I didn't know you were... You didn't know I was coming," Camilo finished. "That's the problem. Of course. I just meant..." Senhor straightened, trying to recover, trying to pull the professional mask back into place. His eyes darted around the club, looking for help that wasn't coming. "Is there something wrong? Has there been a complaint?" "Yes, I assure you. Whatever it is, I can." "Her." Camilo gestured toward Olivia without looking away from Senhor. "Why isn't she working?" Senhor finally looked at her properly. Really looked. His expression shifted through several emotions at once. Surprise, irritation, anger, then something close to panic, when he realized she was standing next to the owner of the building. He cleared his throat. She wasn't a good fit for the team. Why not? She didn't want to take on additional responsibilities. What responsibilities? Senhor hesitated. The music pounded around them. People were starting to notice the conversation, the tension. The woman in gold had disappeared. 2 of the bartenders had stopped working to watch. "The club offers more than just drinks," Senhor said carefully. "We provide Entertainment. Premium services for premium clients. She wasn't interested in participating. She's a waitress, Camilo said flatly. She was. Her contract specified waitressing. Senhor blinked. Yes, but, so you fired her for refusing to break her contract. It's not that simple. It is exactly that simple. Camilo's voice didn't rise, but it cut through the music like a knife. You pressured an employee to provide sexual services. She refused. You evicted her and threw her into the street with no severance and no warning. Is that accurate? Senhor's jaw worked. With respect, Senhor Race, you don't understand how this business. I understand perfectly. Camilo took one step closer. What I don't understand is who told you this was acceptable. No one told me. I run the club the way it needs to be run, the way it makes money. My money. Yes, your money, which I've been increasing every month by exploiting women who came here to work, not to be sold. The accusation hung in the air. Senhor's face flushed. That's not these girls know what they're signing up for. They want the work. They make good money. She's the only one who ever complained, because she's the only one who said no. She's the only one naive enough to think a place like this runs on serving drinks. The words came out sharp, defensive, and the moment they did, Senhor seemed to realize his mistake. His eyes widened slightly. He took half a step back. Camilo's expression didn't change. Turn the music off. What? Turn the music off. Senhor looked around desperately, then signaled to someone Olivia couldn't see. 10 seconds later, the music cut out. The silence was deafening. Every head in the club turned toward them. Camilo raised his voice just enough to carry. Everyone out. Now. No one moved. The crowd stared at Camilo like he'd spoken a language they didn't understand. Music still echoed faintly from the speakers, a ghost of the beat that had been shaking the walls moments before. Someone laughed nervously near the bar. A glass clinked. Camilo didn't repeat himself. He pulled his phone from his pocket, pressed a single button, and held it to his ear. His eyes never left Senhor's face. Clear the building, he said in Portuguese. Everyone. 2 minutes. He ended the call. That's when people started recognizing what was happening. The security guards appeared first, not the 2 from the entrance, but others. 6 of them, maybe more, materializing from the shadows like they'd been waiting for the order. They moved through the crowd efficiently, professionally, ushering people toward the exits with firm voices and firmer hands. Let's go. Time to leave. Club's closed. Everyone out. Now. Move. The crowd resisted at first, confused complaints, half-finished drinks, abandoned on tables, a few angry shouts. But the guards didn't negotiate. Within 60 seconds, the dance floor was emptying. Within 90, the bar was clear. The woman in gold grabbed her purse and hurried toward the door without looking back. Olivia stood frozen near Camilo, watching the club drain like water from a bathtub. Girls she'd worked with filed past, some still in their uniforms, others in the skimpy outfits Senhor preferred for the premium entertainment. A few glanced at her. Most didn't. Senhor's panic was visible now. His hands twitched at his sides. Sweat beaded along his hairline despite the air conditioning. Senhor Race, please, if I've offended you in some way. Quiet. Senhor's mouth snapped shut. The last of the customers filtered out. The guards took positions at each exit, arms crossed, expressions blank. One of them locked the front door from the inside. The click echoed through the now silent club. Camilo surveyed the empty space, the scattered glasses, the fog machine still pumping mist across the dance floor, the neon lights reflecting off mirrors and chrome. He walked slowly toward the bar, hands still in his pockets, taking in every detail. Olivia followed because she didn't know what else to do. Behind them, Senhor stood rooted to the spot, his confidence completely shattered. Camilo stopped at the bar, running one finger along the marble countertop. How much does this place make in a month? Senhor stammered. I approximately 200,000 reais, Senhor. Sometimes more, depending on. And how much of that comes from liquor sales? Silence. How much? Camilo repeated. Maybe. 30%. So 70% comes from the girls. Senhor swallowed hard. The entertainment services are very popular. High-end clients. Discretion guaranteed. It's a lucrative model that I didn't ask for a pitch. Camilo turned to face him. I asked for numbers. 70%? Yes, approximately. And you pay the girls what percentage? 20% of what they earn, plus tips. 20% of money they earn for you by selling themselves. They're independent contractors. They choose their clients. They set their boundaries. It's all consensual. Camilo's laugh was cold. Except when it's not. Except when a girl says no and you throw her out. She wasn't one of the entertainers. She was an employee who had a contract, who did her job, and you punished her for not doing a job she never agreed to. Camilo stepped closer. Where's her room? Upstairs, second floor. But her belongings are... Show me. Senhor looked like he might be sick. Of course, right this way. He led them toward the back hallway, past the bathrooms and the storage room, to a narrow staircase Olivia knew too well. She'd climbed those stairs every night for 8 months, exhausted and aching, just grateful to have a door she could lock. The second floor was quieter, dimmer, a long corridor with doors on either side. Some were open, revealing small rooms barely big enough for a bed. Others were closed, sounds filtering through muffled voices, music, the rhythmic creak of bed frames. Olivia's chest tightened. She'd lived next to this, heard it every night. Senhor stopped in front of a door near the end. This was hers. Open it, Camilo said. Senhor pulled out a keyring, selected one, unlocked the door. It swung inward. The room was empty. Not just empty of Olivia's belongings, completely stripped. The mattress was gone. The lamp. Even the curtain rod above the window. Just bare walls and a concrete floor. Where's her stuff? Camilo's voice was dangerously quiet. I had it removed. Standard procedure when someone is terminated. Where is it now? In storage, downstairs. I can retrieve it if... You threw her out with nothing. She took a bag. I saw her. 1 bag. After 8 months of work. 1 bag. Camilo turned to Olivia. Is that true? She nodded, unable to speak. Camilo stared at the empty room for a long moment. Then he walked back into the hallway, pulled out his phone again, and made another call. I need a full audit, he said. Eclipse Lounge. Tonight. Every contract, every payment, every girl currently working. I want names, ages, how long they've been here, and what they were promised when they started. He paused, listening. No, I'll wait. Bring the team now. He ended the call and looked at Senhor. You're going to sit downstairs and answer every question they ask. And if I find out you've been trafficking minors or coercing women into this, they won't find your body. Senhor's face went gray. I swear, everyone here is legal. Everyone consents. I run a clean operation. You run nothing. Camilo's voice was ice. You're a manager who forgot who he works for. And you're about to learn what happens when you abuse that position. He turned to one of the guards. Take him downstairs. Lock him in the office. He doesn't leave. He doesn't make calls. He doesn't talk to anyone until my people arrive. Yes, Senhor. The guard grabbed Senhor's arm. Senhor opened his mouth to protest, then thought better of it. He let himself be led away, shoulders slumped, the fight completely gone. When they were alone in the hallway, Camilo finally looked at Olivia. You lived here for 8 months. She nodded. Listening to that every night. He gestured toward the closed doors, the muffled sounds. Yes, and you still said no. I'm not, her voice cracked. I'm not that. I'm just a waitress. You're more than that. He said it simply, like it was fact. Most people break. You didn't. Olivia didn't know what to say. She felt hollowed out, wrung dry. Everything that had happened in the past 2 hours felt surreal. The rain, the SUV, the confrontation, watching Senhor crumble in front of the man he'd been stealing from. What happens now? She asked quietly. Camilo looked down the hallway, then back at her. Now I clean up the mess. And you decide what you want. What I want? You can't stay here. The room's gone. The job's gone. But you're owed 8 months of back wages for the work you refused to do, plus severance for illegal termination, plus compensation for emotional distress. He pulled out his phone, typed something, call it 50,000 Rie, enough to start over somewhere else. Olivia's knees nearly buckled. 50,000, or, he continued, you stay. Help me figure out who else has been hurt here. Testify if needed, and I'll make sure you're protected while you do it. She stared at him. Why would you do that? Because you're the only person in this building who told the truth. He met her eyes. And I need to know how deep this goes. Outside, thunder rumbled. Inside, Olivia made a choice. I'll help. Camilo nodded once. Then let's go back downstairs. My people will be here soon, and you're going to tell them everything. The office was smaller than Olivia expected. Senhor sat behind a cluttered desk, hands folded in front of him, face pale. 2 guards stood at the door, arms crossed, expressions carved from stone. The room smelled like stale cigarettes and expensive whiskey, a half-empty bottle catching the light from the desk lamp. Camilo leaned against the wall near the window, watching the street below where black sedans were beginning to arrive. His people. The audit team he'd called. Olivia could see them through the glass, men and women in dark suits carrying laptops and file boxes, moving with the efficiency of soldiers. She sat in a metal folding chair across from Senhor, still wearing her damp uniform, apron tied at her waist like shame she couldn't shed. Her bag rested at her feet, everything she owned in the world. Camilo hadn't spoken in 5 minutes. The silence was worse than shouting. It pressed down on the room like weight, made breathing difficult. Senhor kept glancing at him, then away, then back again, waiting for something, permission to speak, permission to explain, anything. Finally, Camilo turned from the window. "How long have you worked for me?" he asked. Senhor cleared his throat. 3 years, Senhor Reese. And in those 3 years, how many times have I visited this location? This is the first time. The first time. Camilo let that sit. So you thought I didn't care what happened here? No, I thought I was doing what you wanted. Maximizing profit, growing the business, by turning it into a brothel. It's not a brothel, Senhor said quickly. It's a gentleman's club with additional services, high-end, discreet, completely legal. Legal. Camilo's voice was flat. You keep using that word, but legal doesn't mean right, and it doesn't mean authorized. I was given operational freedom. The previous regional manager said. I don't care what he said. Camilo pushed off the wall, crossed to the desk. I care what you did. How many girls are currently working the upstairs rooms? Senhor hesitated. 15, maybe 16. You don't know? Some come and go. They're independent. How many are under contract like she was? Camilo nodded toward Olivia. How many were hired to waitress and then pressured into more? Silence. How many? Camilo's hand came down on the desk, not hard, but sharp enough to make Senhor flinch. I don't know. A few. Maybe 5 or 6. Started as staff and transitioned. Transitioned, Camilo repeated. That's a pleasant word for it. They wanted the work. The money is better. I didn't force anyone. Olivia's hands clenched in her lap. The lie was so casual, so practiced. Like he'd told it so many times he believed it himself. She's sitting right there, Camilo said quietly. And she's going to tell me if you're lying. Senhor's eyes darted to Olivia. She held his gaze. There were others, she said. Her voice came out stronger than she expected. I wasn't the only one. There was a girl named Beatriz. She worked the bar with me for 2 months. Then one day she was upstairs. I asked her what happened. She said she didn't have a choice. That's not true, Senhor cut in. Beatriz came to me asking for more hours. I offered her an opportunity, and she accepted. She was crying in the bathroom the next week. Olivia continued. She said she needed the money, that you told her the bar wasn't making enough tips to keep her on full time unless she helped out upstairs. That's she's misrepresenting. Is Beatriz still here? Camilo asked. No, Senhor admitted. She left about a month ago. Left or was fired. She stopped showing up. Camilo's jaw tightened. He pulled out his phone, typed something, then looked at one of the guards. Find her. Full name, last known address, phone number. I want to talk to her tonight. The guard nodded and stepped into the hallway. Camilo turned back to Senhor. Who else? I don't understand what you're... Who else did you coerce? Who else came here for legitimate work and ended up in those rooms because you threatened their jobs? No one. I swear. The others all knew what they were signing up for. Then you won't mind if I ask them. Camilo moved toward the door. Because my team is about to interview every girl in this building, and if even one of them tells a story like hers, he gestured to Olivia, then we're going to have a much longer conversation, somewhere less comfortable. Senhor's composure finally cracked completely. Please, Senhor Reis, I was just trying to run a profitable business. The overhead on this place is enormous. The liquor license alone costs. I don't care about the overhead. I care that you used my money, my property, and my name to exploit women who trusted you to honor their contracts. It wasn't exploitation. She was homeless tonight. Camilo's voice cut like a razor. Walking in the rain with nowhere to go because you threw her out for refusing to prostitute herself. That's not business. That's cruelty. The word hung in the air. Olivia felt something shift in her chest. Someone was saying it. Someone was calling it what it was. After 8 months of being told she was naive, that she didn't understand how the world worked, that her boundaries were unreasonable, someone was saying she'd been right. A knock at the door interrupted the moment. One of the guards opened it. A woman in a gray suit stepped inside, carrying a tablet and a leather folder. She was maybe 50, with short silver hair and sharp eyes that took in the room in seconds. "Senhor Race," she said, nodding. "Gabriella." Camilo straightened. "Status? We've secured all the files. Financial records, employment contracts, security footage for the past 6 months. The girls are being interviewed in separate rooms. We've also contacted legal counsel and local authorities to ensure everything is documented properly." "Good. How many girls total?" 23 currently on the premises. 19 are over 18. 4 are, she glanced at Senhor, showing discrepancies in their documentation. Camilo's expression darkened. "What kind of discrepancies?" "IDs that don't match their stated ages. One girl claiming to be 22 with a birth certificate that suggests she's 17. The temperature in the room dropped 10 degrees. Camilo turned slowly to face Senhor. "You hired minors." No, I checked every ID. If someone lied about their age, that's not my fault." "You didn't verify?" "It wasn't a question. I did. I have copies of everything. If someone brought a fake ID, I had no way of knowing." "You didn't verify?" Camilo repeated. "Because you didn't want to know." Senhor opened his mouth, closed it, opened it again. No words came out. Gabriella cleared her throat. "Should I contact the authorities about the minors?" "Immediately. And get them somewhere safe. Medical exams, counseling, whatever they need. I want a full paper trail showing we cooperated completely the moment we discovered the problem." "Understood." She left, heels clicking down the hallway. Camilo looked at Olivia. "Did you know about the young ones?" "I suspected," she said quietly. "There was a girl who looked too young. I asked her once how old she was. She said 19, but she looked like she was lying." "Did you report it?" "To who?" "He ran the club." She gestured toward Senhor. "And I was barely holding on to my own job." Camilo nodded slowly. "You did what you could. I should have done more. You survived. That's enough." He moved to the door, paused. "I need you to write everything down. Every girl you remember who seemed coerced. Every conversation, every threat, every detail." "Okay. Gabriella will help you. Take your time. Be thorough." He looked back at Senhor one last time. "And then we're going to shut this place down. Permanently." Senhor's face went white. "You can't. This location generates. I don't care what it generates. It ends tonight." The interviews took 4 hours. Olivia sat in a small room off the main hallway with Gabriella, writing everything she could remember. Names, faces, conversations whispered in bathrooms and back stairwells. Girls who'd arrived hopeful and left broken. Girls who'd smiled through tears. Girls who stopped smiling altogether. Her hand cramped after the first hour, but she kept writing. Gabriella asked questions, occasionally clarifying details, asking for timelines, making notes on her tablet with swift, efficient taps. She didn't interrupt unnecessarily, didn't rush, just listened with the focus of someone who'd done this before. Outside the room, Olivia could hear movement, doors opening and closing, muted conversations, the quiet shuffle of people being escorted through the building. The girls were being interviewed separately, each one assigned a member of Camilo's team. No one was allowed to leave until they'd given their statement. Around midnight, Gabriella's phone buzzed. She glanced at the screen, then stood. "I need to check on something. Keep writing. I'll be back." Olivia nodded, flexing her fingers before picking up the pen again. She wrote about Beatriz, who'd cried in the bathroom and disappeared a month later. About Carla, who'd been hired as a cocktail waitress and now worked the VIP rooms with dead eyes and a practiced smile. About the girl whose name Olivia never learned, who'd looked 16 and insisted she was 19. She wrote about the night Senhor had cornered her in the storage room, his voice friendly but his meaning clear. "You could make triple what you're making now. Customers ask about you. You're wasting potential." She wrote about the way he'd changed after she refused, how the shifts got longer, how her tips mysteriously decreased, how other staff members started avoiding her like rejection was contagious. She wrote about the girls who'd tried to warn her. "Just do what he says. It's easier that way. Fighting only makes it worse. She wrote until her hand shook and her eyes blurred, and Gabriella returned with coffee and a sandwich Olivia didn't remember asking for. Eat, Gabriella said gently. You've been at this for hours. Olivia took the coffee, but couldn't stomach the food. How many girls have you talked to? 17 so far. 6 more to go. And? Gabriella's expression tightened. And you weren't the only one. Not by a long shot. The confirmation should have made Olivia feel vindicated. Instead, it just made her tired, sad, angry at herself for not doing more when she'd had the chance. The young ones? She asked quietly. All 4 are being taken to a safe house tonight. Medical exams tomorrow. We've contacted their families where possible. Gabriella paused. 2 of them are from out of state. They were recruited online with promises of modeling work. Olivia's stomach turned. Modeling. Standard trafficking language. They show up, passports get held for safekeeping. Suddenly they owe money for housing and transportation they never agreed to pay for. Gabriella's voice was clinical, professional, but anger simmered beneath it. By the time they realize what's happening, they're trapped. Did Senhor know? He claims he didn't. But ignorance isn't a defense when you're running an operation like this. He should have known. He chose not to look. The door opened. Camilo stepped inside, still wearing the same suit, though his shirt was more wrinkled now. Sleeves rolled to his elbows. He looked tired. Not physically, something deeper. The kind of exhaustion that came from seeing things you couldn't unsee. How is she doing? He asked Gabriella. She's been very thorough. We have enough to build a strong case. He nodded, then looked at Olivia. I need you to come with me. Her pulse quickened. Where? Upstairs. One of the girls is refusing to talk unless you're there. Olivia set down her pen. Which one? She wouldn't give her name. Just said she knew you. That you were kind to her. Olivia stood, legs stiff from sitting so long. She followed Camilo out of the room, down the hallway, past security guards and audit team members moving through the building like surgeons through an infected wound. They climbed the back staircase to the 2nd floor. The hallway was different now. Empty. Quiet. Doors stood open, revealing rooms in various states of disorder, unmade beds, scattered clothing, makeup kits abandoned on nightstands. The girls had been moved downstairs for the interviews. What remained felt like evidence, proof of what this place really was. Camilo stopped at a door near the end, 3 down from where Olivia's room used to be. He knocked softly. It's Race. I have her with me. A moment of silence, then a small voice. Okay. Camilo opened the door. Inside, sitting on the edge of a narrow bed, was a girl Olivia recognized immediately. Young face, dark hair pulled into a messy ponytail, wearing an oversized sweatshirt that hadn't been part of the club's dress code. She looked up when they entered, eyes red from crying. Olivia, she whispered. Lucia. Olivia moved into the room, keeping her voice gentle. Are you okay? Lucia shook her head. They're asking me questions and I don't know what to say. I don't want to get in trouble. You're not in trouble, Camilo said from the doorway. We're trying to help. But I lied, on my application. I said I was 21, but I'm only 19, and if I tell them that, they'll know I used a fake ID and... Lucia. Olivia sat down beside her. You're not going to get arrested for a fake ID. That's not what this is about. Then what is it about? Olivia glanced at Camilo. He nodded slightly, permission to tell the truth. It's about making sure what happened to me doesn't happen to anyone else. Olivia said, Senhor is being investigated for exploitation, for pressuring girls into work they didn't agree to, for creating an unsafe environment, and we need to know who else was hurt. Lucia's hands twisted in her lap. I wasn't hurt. I chose this. Did you? Olivia asked gently. Or did you choose waitressing and end up here because you had no other option? Silence. Then, quietly, he said I wasn't making enough in tips, that I was costing the club money, that if I wanted to stay, I needed to contribute differently. When was this? 2 months ago, right after you started refusing the VIP room requests. Lucia looked up, tears spilling over. I saw what happened to you, how he treated you after you said no. So when he came to me, I didn't fight. I just said yes. Olivia's throat tightened. I'm so sorry. It's not your fault. You were brave. I needed the job. I needed the money. My mom is sick, and I send money home every week. And if I lost this job, I didn't know what I'd do. Where's home? Camilo asked. Bahia. Small town. No work. That's why I came to the city. And Senhor knew this? Lucia nodded. He knew everyone's situation. He knew who was desperate, who had debts, who couldn't afford to say no. Her voice dropped to a whisper. That's how he chose. The room fell silent. Camilo pulled out his phone, typed something. When he spoke again, his voice was careful, controlled. Lucia, I'm going to ask you a question, and I need you to be honest. Did Senhor or anyone else in this club ever physically force you to do anything? No, not force, but what? But he made it clear that refusing wasn't really an option. That girls who didn't cooperate didn't last. And I saw what happened to the ones who tried to leave early. Their pay got withheld. Their references disappeared. One girl tried to report him and suddenly she couldn't find work anywhere in the city. He blacklisted her. I don't know what you call it. I just know she ended up going back to her hometown with nothing. Camilo's jaw tightened. He looked at Olivia. Did you know about this? I heard rumors. But I never saw proof. He nodded slowly, then focused on Lucia again. I need you to write down everything you just told me. Names of other girls who were coerced, clients who were abusive, anyone who helped Senhor run this operation. Can you do that? Lucia hesitated. What happens after? After, this place closes. Permanently. Senhor faces consequences. And you get paid everything you're owed, plus compensation for what was done to you. And then what? Where do I go? Anywhere you want. I'll make sure you have enough to start over. Somewhere safe. Somewhere far from here. Lucia looked at Olivia. Do you believe him? Olivia thought about the empty club downstairs. The audit team. The way Camilo had dismantled Senhor's confidence in minutes. The way he'd stopped his car in the rain for a stranger who had nothing to offer him. Yes, she said. I believe him. Lucia took a shaky breath. Okay, I'll write it down. By 3 a.m, the Eclipse Lounge looked like a crime scene. Not because of violence there had been none, but because of what the investigation had uncovered. File boxes lined the hallway outside Senhor's office. Laptops glowed on every available surface. Gabriella's team worked in focused silence, cross-referencing documents, flagging discrepancies, building a case that would hold up in any court. Olivia sat in the main club area, watching it all unfold. The neon lights had been turned off, the fog machine silenced. Without the music and the crowds and the artificial energy, the space looked smaller, sadder, like a stage after the performance ended. Camilo stood near the bar, phone pressed to his ear, speaking rapid Portuguese to someone who clearly didn't want to hear what he was saying. His voice was calm but unyielding. Final. I don't care what the revenue projections were. I don't care what you approved 3 years ago. The operation ends tonight. No. There's no discussion. Because I own the building and I'm telling you it's over. He ended the call without waiting for a response. Gabriella approached him with a tablet. We've completed all the interviews. 23 girls total. 14 were hired under false pretenses or coerced into services beyond their original contracts. 4 are minors. The remaining 5 claim they entered the arrangement voluntarily, but 2 of those are showing signs of trafficking indicators. What kind of indicators? Debt bondage. One girl owes the club 30,000 reais for housing and training fees she says she never agreed to. Another had her passport confiscated when she arrived from Colombia. She hasn't seen it since. Camilo's expression darkened. Where are their documents? Locked in Senhor's desk. We found 12 passports. Only 6 match girls currently working here. And the other 6? Unknown. Could be girls who left. Could be something worse. The implication hung heavy in the air. Camilo set his phone down. I want forensic accounting on every transaction going back 3 years. Every payment to the girls. Every client charge. Every expense. If money is missing, I want to know where it went. Already in progress. But Senhor kept 2 sets of books, one official, one hidden. We're working through the encrypted files now. How long? Few more hours. Maybe less. Camilo nodded. What about Senhor? Still in the office. He's requested a lawyer. He can request whatever he wants. He's not leaving this building until we have everything we need. Gabriella glanced at Olivia, then back to Camilo. There's something else you should know. What? 3 of the girls mentioned a regional manager who visits once a month, collects cash payments, never gives his name. They described him as older, well-dressed, scar on his left hand. Camilo went very still. Augusto. You know him? He was supposed to be overseeing operations in this district. making sure locations stayed clean, stayed legal, stayed profitable. His voice was ice. Instead, he was collecting protection money and looking the other way. Should I add him to the investigation? Add him to everything. I want to know every property he manages, every deal he's touched, every person he's compromised. If he's doing this here, he's doing it elsewhere. Gabriella made a note. This is going to be bigger than one club. I know. Camilo looked around the empty space. That's why it has to be thorough. If I clean one location and ignore the rest, I'm just moving the problem. I need to burn it all down and rebuild correctly. Olivia watched him from across the room. This was a man who'd built an empire. She could see it in the way his team moved, the way they deferred to him without question, the way a single phone call emptied a building. But he was also a man who'd stopped his car in the rain for a crying woman he didn't know. She didn't understand him. Maybe that was the point. Gabriella left to coordinate with the forensic team. Camilo walked over to where Olivia sat, hands in his pockets, exhaustion finally starting to show around his eyes. You should go home, he said. I don't have a home. He paused. Right, I forgot. It's fine. I can stay until... No, you've given us everything we need. The rest is just documentation. He pulled out his phone, typed something. I'm sending you to a hotel. Somewhere clean and safe. You can rest. I don't need charity. It's not charity. It's payment for services rendered. You've been working as a consultant for the past 6 hours. He showed her the phone screen. A bank transfer confirmation. 50,000 rié. That's what I promised. Plus another 20 for the interview assistance tonight. Olivia stared at the number. 70,000 riés. More money than she'd made in 2 years of work. I can't accept this. You already did. It's in your account. What account? I didn't give you my... Payroll records. Gabriella pulled them from Senhor's files. He tucked the phone away. Consider it back pay for 8 months of putting up with his abuse. Olivia's hands shook. This is too much. It's not enough, but it's a start. He gestured to one of the guards near the door. Raphael will take you to the hotel. Stay as long as you need. When you're ready to figure out what's next, call me. He handed her a business card. Heavy paper. Embossed lettering. Just a name and a phone number. What if I don't call? Olivia asked. Then you don't call. The money's yours either way. You don't owe me anything. Why are you doing this? Camilo looked at her for a long moment. Because you walked away from everything rather than compromise who you are. Most people don't have that strength. The ones who do deserve to be protected, not punished. I'm not special. You walked through the rain with nowhere to go rather than sell yourself. In my world, that makes you extraordinary. He stepped back. Raphael will take care of you. Get some sleep. We'll talk tomorrow if you want. Or never. Your choice. He turned to walk away. Camilo. He stopped. What's going to happen to the other girls? The ones who don't have anywhere to go? Same thing that's happening to you. Money. Housing assistance. Job placement if they want it. Therapy if they need it. No one gets thrown into the street. Not on my watch. Not anymore. And Senhor? Camilo's expression hardened. Senhor is going to learn that stealing from me is expensive. But stealing women's dignity? He shook his head. That's going to cost him everything. Olivia believed him. Raphael appeared at her side, young, professional, wearing the same dark suit as the other guards. Ready, Senhora? She stood, legs unsteady from sitting so long. Her uniform was finally dry but still wrinkled, still smelling like the club. She wanted to burn it. As Raphael led her toward the exit, Olivia looked back one last time. Camilo stood at the bar, phone to his ear again, issuing orders that would ripple through his entire organization, dismantling corruption, demanding accountability, burning down what was broken so something better could grow. He'd stopped for her in the rain, not because he was kind, though maybe he was, in his own way, but because he had standards. Lines he wouldn't cross, rules even powerful men had to follow, and when those rules were broken, he didn't look away. He acted. Outside, the rain had finally stopped. The sky was beginning to lighten, not quite dawn, but close. The city looked different in the pre-morning gray. Quieter, almost peaceful. Raphael opened the door to a black sedan, not the SUV from earlier, but similar. Clean, expensive, safe. The hotel is 20 minutes away, he said. You can sleep in the car if you want. Olivia slid into the back seat, her canvas bag beside her. 70,000 reais in an account she'd barely used. As the car pulled away from the Eclipse Lounge, she watched the building shrink in the side mirror. The neon sign was dark. The doors were locked. Inside, Camilo's team was taking it apart piece by piece. By tomorrow, it would be gone. And Olivia Peters' waitress, refuser, survivor, would wake up in a clean bed with enough money to start over. Somewhere far from here, somewhere safe, somewhere chosen. Dawn broke over the city like a bruise, purple and gray, bleeding into pale yellow at the edges. Olivia woke in a hotel room that smelled like lavender and clean sheets. For a moment, she forgot where she was. Then the memories came flooding back. The rain, the SUV, Camilo's face in the shadows, the Eclipse being dismantled piece by piece. She sat up, checking her phone. 7:43 a.m. Missed calls from a number she didn't recognize. A text from Gabriella. Investigation complete. Call when you're awake. Olivia dialed. Gabriella answered on the first ring. How did you sleep? Better than I have in months. Good. Are you able to come back to the club? There's something Senhor Race wants you to see. 20 minutes later, Rafael was driving her back through morning traffic. The city looked different in daylight, less menacing, more indifferent. Just concrete and glass and people rushing to jobs that would drain them slowly. When they arrived at the Eclipse, Olivia barely recognized it. The neon sign was gone, just empty brackets and loose wires. The front windows were covered with official notices, citations, closure orders, seizure documents. A small crowd had gathered on the sidewalk, neighbors whispering behind their hands, trying to figure out what happened. Rafael led her through a side entrance. Inside, the club was a skeleton. The bar had been stripped, bottles removed, glassware packed, even the mirrors taken down. The DJ booth was empty, the VIP section dismantled. Workers in coveralls were pulling up the carpets, exposing stained concrete underneath. Camilo stood in the center of the dance floor, surveying the destruction like a general after a siege. He turned when Olivia entered. You came. Gabriella said you wanted to see me. I wanted you to see this. He gestured around the gutted space. So you know it's real. It's not coming back. Olivia walked slowly through the room, past the empty bar where she'd spent 8 months, past the hallway that led to the stairs she'd climbed every night. Everything that had felt permanent 12 hours ago was being erased. Where are the girls? She asked. Safe houses. Hotels. 3 went home to their families. 2 are meeting with social services this afternoon. The minors are with child protection services. He paused. Lucia asked about you. Wanted to make sure you were okay. I should call her. She'd like that. Camilo pulled out his phone, sent something. I just forwarded you her number. Gabriella emerged from the back office, carrying a box of files. She set them down carefully. Final count. 147,000 reais in unreported cash. Another 200,000 in withheld wages and fabricated debt payments. And Senhor? Olivia asked. Being transferred to federal custody within the hour. Gabriella replied. Money laundering, human trafficking, coercion, fraud. He'll be lucky to see daylight in the next decade. What about the regional manager, Augusto? Camilo's expression hardened. He's next. We've identified 6 other locations operating the same way, all under his supervision, all generating revenue through exploitation. 6? Olivia's voice came out smaller than she intended. 6 that we know of so far. The audit is ongoing. He looked at her directly. This is bigger than one club, Olivia. It's systemic, and it ends now. A worker approached, clipboard in hand. Senhor Reis, demo team is ready. Do we have authorization to proceed? Proceed with what? Olivia asked. Camilo's jaw tightened. Complete structural renovation. We're gutting the second floor entirely. Every room, every wall, every surface that was used to hurt people. You're tearing it down. I'm erasing it. His voice was steel. When this building reopens, if it reopens, it will be something completely different. Something clean. The Eclipse Lounge dies today. The worker waited for confirmation. Camilo nodded. Start with the upstairs rooms. I want them gone first. The worker left. Moments later, the sound of sledgehammers began echoing through the building. Walls crumbling, debris falling, the physical destruction of what had been a prison for so many. Olivia felt something loosen in her chest. Thank you. Don't thank me. You're the one who had the courage to say no. I'm just doing what I should have done years ago, paying attention. You didn't know what was happening here. I should have. That's on me. He pulled out an envelope, handed it to her. This is for you. Inside were documents, legal papers, a property deed. Olivia's hands shook. What is this? The building where you were staying before the eclipse. I bought it this morning. You have an apartment there now. Paid for 1 year. After that, it's yours if you want it. I can't. This is too much. It's not a gift. It's restitution. His voice softened slightly. You lost your home because of my failure to monitor my own operations. This makes it right. Tears burned behind Olivia's eyes. Why are you doing all this? Camila was quiet for a moment. My sister was trafficked when she was 19. Promised a restaurant job in Sao Paulo. Ended up in a situation not unlike yours. But she didn't have the strength to say no. And by the time I found her, he trailed off. I was too late. She's still alive, but she's not the same. She'll never be the same. I'm sorry. I swore after that I'd never let it happen again. Not in any business I controlled. Not on my watch. He looked around the demolished club. I failed. But I won't fail twice. The sledgehammers continued their work upstairs. The sound was oddly satisfying, cathartic. What happens to you now? Camilo asked. Olivia thought about the apartment. The money in her account. The future that had opened up in front of her like a door she'd thought was locked forever. I don't know, but I get to choose. That's enough. Camilo almost smiled. Yes, it is. The apartment was small but clean, 1 bedroom, a kitchen with actual counter space, windows that let in real sunlight. Olivia stood in the empty living room, her canvas bag on the floor beside her, trying to process that this space was hers. No shared walls with exploitation. No music bleeding through at 3 a.m. No men in the hallway making offers that weren't really offers. Just silence, and safety, and choice. Her phone buzzed. Lucia. Hello? Olivia? The girl's voice was tentative. Gabriella gave me your number. I hope that's okay. Of course. How are you? Scared, but better, I think. They put me in a program. Job training, counseling. They said they'd help me find legitimate work. That's good. That's really good. A pause. I wanted to thank you. For what? For being there last night. For telling the truth even when it was hard. I wouldn't have talked if you hadn't been there. Olivia's throat tightened. You would have. You're stronger than you think. I don't feel strong. Neither did I. But we survived. That counts for something. Lucia exhaled shakily. Senhor got arrested this morning, did you hear? I heard. Good. I hope he rots. The venom in her voice was new, healthy. I hope they all rot. They will. Camilo is making sure of it. He's kind of terrifying. Olivia smiled despite herself. Yeah, but in a good way. They talked for a few more minutes. Tentative plans to meet for coffee, promises to check in, the fragile beginning of something that might become friendship. When Lucia hung up, Olivia felt less alone. She spent the rest of the day making the apartment livable. A trip to a secondhand store yielded a mattress, sheets, basic dishes. A grocery run stocked the refrigerator with real food, not the leftovers and scraps she'd survived on at the club. By evening, the space felt almost like home. Her phone rang again. Unknown number. Hello? Olivia Peters? A woman's voice. Professional. Warm. Yes? My name is Dr. Carvalho. I'm a therapist specializing in trauma recovery. Senhor Reyes asked me to reach out. He's arranged for counseling services if you're interested. No pressure. No obligation. Just an option. Olivia sat down slowly on her new second-hand couch. He did that? He did. He's covering all costs. You just have to decide if you want to participate. Yes, I think I do. Wonderful. I have an opening tomorrow at 2. Does that work? Yes, thank you. After she hung up, Olivia sat in the gathering darkness, watching the city lights flicker on outside her window. She thought about how different her life looked now compared to 24 hours ago. How close she'd come to disappearing entirely. How one question, what happened, had changed everything. The first counseling session was harder than Olivia expected. Dr. Carvalho asked questions that peeled back layers she'd been trying to ignore. About boundaries, about survival, about the difference between choice and coercion. You did nothing wrong, Dr. Carvalho said gently. You understand that, right? Olivia wasn't sure she did, but she was starting to. She left the session emotionally raw but strangely lighter, like setting down weight she hadn't realized she'd been carrying. On her way home, she passed the Eclipse Lounge. The building was unrecognizable. Construction crews swarmed the exterior. The pink and blue neon was gone completely, replaced by clean white scaffolding. A sign announced future development. Community Resource Center, opening fall 2026. Olivia stopped walking. A resource center, not another club, not another business, something that would actually help people. She pulled out her phone, found Camilo's number, and called before she could talk herself out of it. He answered immediately. Olivia, I saw the sign. At the Eclipse. And? A resource center? Job training, legal aid, counseling services, for people who need a fresh start. He paused. Seemed appropriate. It is. It's perfect. I'm glad you think so, because I'd like you to help run it. Olivia's breath caught. What? You know what it's like to need help and have nowhere to turn. You know how systems fail people. You'd be valuable in making sure this place actually works. I'm not qualified. You're more qualified than you realize. Think about it. No pressure. She stood on the sidewalk, staring at the building that had almost destroyed her, now being transformed into something that might save others. Okay, she said quietly. I'll think about it. When she hung up, the sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of orange and gold. Olivia Peters walked home to an apartment that was hers, with money in an account she controlled, with options she could choose freely. She walked upright, head high, no tears. The rain had stopped, and she had survived. Not just survived, she'd refused to break, refused to compromise, refused to accept that cruelty was just the cost of living. One woman walking alone in the rain, one man who stopped to ask a question, one system that collapsed because someone finally demanded accountability. Some people fall in the rain and disappear. Others change the world because someone stopped to ask why. Olivia Peters had done both, and she was just beginning. Thanks for sticking with this story until the very end. You're the reason these stories feel alive. If you're ready for another powerful journey, just tap the next video on your screen. And before you go, leave a quick comment and rate this story from 1 to 10. I'm excited to read your thoughts and connect with you in the comments.
А все равно, сути дела не меняет, зарплата плюс-минус везде там, больше, чуть меньше. И, наверное, это все, вот эта общая ситуация, наверное, у многих привела, во-первых, сфера развлечений, да, всякие там кредиты и так далее, настолько загоняют каждого в задницу человека. И об этом на самом деле никто так-то не говорит. Какое количество сейчас, допустим, даже в те же сложные времена такие, когда вот сейчас идет там специальная военная операция, да, где люди вообще умирают, в принципе, за какую-то сумму денег. То есть какая мотивация, то есть у мужика идти типа на войну, воевать и заработать денег? Потому что он вот в обычной жизни не понимает, типа, как реализовать себя. Он понимает, что он может пойти работать на какую-то работу, где зарплаты его все равно не будет хватать. Тут тоже двойственная сторона. Хорошо, когда она есть, плохо, когда ее нету. Да, вот это маленькая даже зарплаты. Но морально-то ты все равно подавлен. Ты понимаешь, да, я там пойду туда, но смысла мне этого не принесет большого. Да, у меня там станет, если я вообще не работаю и буду работать за 50 тысяч, хорошо, что они у меня есть, я смогу там покушать себе купить, но это же дизмораль. Когда ты заходишь в интернет и видишь, как люди там в Дубае летают, покупают себе огромное количество автомобилей какие-то, много всего такого, что ты за эту зарплату себе никогда в жизни позволить не сможешь. И как человеку оставаться морально типа сильным? Что ему нужно делать? Наверное, во-первых, это, наверное, все от семьи исходит, да? То есть, какая семья у тебя, как она построена. Если ты один живешь, это сложно, да, ты будешь сам себя, но у тебя, опять-таки, возможно, родители, если есть, которые друзья поддержат тебя в какой-то момент, хотя бы просто отвлекут тебя от этих мыслей. А если у тебя, к примеру, там семья, жена, к примеру, да, есть дети, тут, наверное, поддержка только от них исходит какая-то. Вот. Чтобы не упиваться в своих мыслях о том, что какая нынче сложная жизнь. И, наверное, других-то вариантов, в принципе-то, и нету. Какие вот еще варианты, в принципе, изменить, поменять свою жизнь настолько, чтобы она была, ну, казалась тебе удачной, да, реализованным себя в жизни, в чем-то. В чем, вот как проявляется на самом деле у нас реализованность? Наверное, у 90% случаев это финансовое благополучие, финансовая независимость. Это, наверное, одно из таких ключевых моментов, когда человек, наверное, считает себя реализованным, да, в этой жизни. То есть, как добиться этого? То есть, с учетом того, что даже возьмем нашу страну, да, сколько миллионов людей здесь живет, как каждому добиться этого результата? Непонятно. И с каждым годом просто ситуация становится все хуже и хуже. Все дорожает, люди зарабатывают либо столько же. Ну, даже если они зарабатывают столько же, на самом деле этого все уже недостаточно. К чему это все приведет на самом деле? В оконцове, наверное, мир погрязнет в большую депрессию в какую-то. Какие-то войны, возможно, или еще что-то еще больше глобальных таких вещей, которые не приведут ни к чему хорошему на самом деле. Поддержка каждого человека именно для того, чтобы он держался, наверное, морально, заключается в том, что, ну, наверное, дом, в который ты приходишь, должен быть крепостью твоей, да, что это единственное должно быть место, где ты будешь чувствовать себя под защитой. Для этого было придумано, наверное, своя пещера изначально, потом свои какие-то чумы, палатки различные, да, потом все это превратилось, на данный момент это у нас дома, квартиры, в которые мы приходим и должны ощущать себя в безопасности, чтобы можно быть немного морально расслабленным с учетом того, что ты выходишь каждый день на работу, на улицу, и все равно давление вот это вот, оно все присутствует. Когда ты заходишь в магазин, видишь цены эти, да, и так далее, не можешь себе что-то там приобрести, позволить на ежедневной основе, это откладывает большой, наверное, отпечаток. Не, наверное, а точно. И поэтому, когда возвращаясь домой, ты чувствуешь, вот хотя бы есть типа уголок того места, куда ты можешь прийти. Уголок на самом деле человеку много тоже не надо. Можно хотеть большего, но на самом деле человеку одному много не надо. Да? Ему нужно спальное место, спокойное место, где можно подумать. Ну, это когда ты один, к примеру, да? Когда у тебя есть семья, к примеру, ты приходишь домой, опять-таки, тут хотя бы, да, поговорить о каких-то вещах. Просто об отрешенных вещах, наверное. И, возможно, при этих же условиях у тебя и появляется какая-то дополнительная мотивация для реализации себя. А когда у тебя нету ничего, вот это уже становится проблемой. И это у многих на самом деле. Что значит не иметь ничего? Тут, наверное, Самое главное, дизмораль у человека еще возникает при том, что это уже, наверное, где-то в глубине души даже она возникает при даже хорошей финансовой подушке такой, которая у тебя есть, хороших финансовых деньгах, да, то есть, но нету вот внутреннего ощущения, к примеру, дружбы, семьи, любви и так далее. Это уже отдельно на самом деле разговор, потому что мы, вот, к примеру, можем взять, как сейчас вот Мелстрой, если кто-то смотрит, насколько тяжело обладать такими финансами и не иметь, по сути, ничего. Ни друзей, ничего не иметь. Так главное это получается для бедных главное деньги, для богатых главное какое-то внутреннее ощущение нужности, не из-за денег. Вот такое вот. И эта борьба какая-то такая и вот эти два слоя общества, богатые и бедные, они друг друга не понимают. На самом деле из-за этого, возможно. Потому что богатый человек, он уже не смотрит на деньги, он не считает эти деньги. Ему важно внутреннее вот это вот ощущение того, что он нужен без них даже. Это как Тони Старку сказали: а кто ты без костюма? На вот это я филантроп, тудым-сюдым, он сказал, да. Так и человеку, у которого много денег, ты задашь вопрос: а кто ты без денег? Ну, что ты представляешь себе без денег? Вот и это, наверное, возможно, таких людей богатых, как вот, например, там Мелстрой, задав ему этот вопрос: а кто ты без денег? Он на него ответить-то и не сможет. Обратная сторона людей бедных, да, вот если мы посмотрим, человеку